Africa. The online fundraising event will be held on the 15th and the 16th of August this year. So please, give what you can to invest in our youth.
The two-day event will also be broadcasted via Black Ice TV7 on Facebook as well as YouTube. Black Power starts with your melanin, uniting the Black family first.
With no feeling of control, as we wonder what it is, and we wonder what it was, and we wonder where we'll go.
Greetings, family. This is Terry Riggs, Mr. Riggs, UK tour guide to the rest of the world, and I have a special guest in the house. But before we go into the special guest, you know, we're going to talk about what's going on throughout the whole week. But before I even say that, I'm going to present into the house my co-host, Brother Rich.
What's good, people? What's good? Welcome to another Black Ice TV production. As always, bring you that knowledge, wisdom, information. Yeah, this one's going to be another powerful discussion. I'm looking forward to it. Riggsy, kick it off. You know the routine, people. Like, share, subscribe, hit the donate button, and share this out. Let's go.
Before we go in, as you know it, on the 15th and 16th, as you saw the advertisement and you saw what was going on, we're going to have a 2-day telethon on the 15th and 16th of August, which is going to be a phenomenal 2 days event online, because we have so many people. We even have our special guests going to be there. But you know what? It's not today. We're talking about Black family. We're talking about our special guest, and we're going to go into the history and we're going to dig in, because I know she's the real mother of all mothers. So, you know what? Before I go in, I'm going to present her and make her present herself, as she's our special guest. Greetings, Mama T. Please introduce yourself to the public.
Well, my name is Dr. Toni Luck. I live currently now in Johannesburg, South Africa. Terry is one of my wonderful sons who I love, who has me up at 8 o'clock at night when I'm usually in the bed, because I'm up at 2 a.m. in the morning, so only for you. So I'm doing a disclaimer now. If I fall asleep in the middle of a sentence, it's because I'm an old lady. I'm 70 years old, and I've been up since 2 a.m. But I am going to try to stay awake. So thank you so much for having me join your wonderful show. I love the introduction. It's so supersonic and wonderful. Black Ice. I love it. It was beautiful. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Okay. But, you know, as I always say, you know, sometimes we've got to go into the beginning, you know, and going through your steps from the beginning of where your career began, and give them the information, what you're about and what you've done. And I know, because you stand for a lot of women out here, that you are a enormous role model. As you know, you're a role model to one of the women that I'm always with. So, you know what? I want you to give a bit of your history to the public.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm a kidnapped African that was born in Brooklyn, New York. I've been in Africa about 30 years now, having been awoken by several different opportunities to come to Africa, which I now am stuck here. I love being here. My family was taken from the shores of Africa about 387 years ago. And so I know a lot about that, because my great-grandmother was alive. She came as a slave, my great-grandmother, and then my grandmother. So understanding the history of, you know, how we got to America. You know, I tell people all the time, we're not immigrants. We were bought, you know, immigrants come willingly. We were chained. I spent my first half of my life, I'm 70 years old this year, so I spent the first 30 years of my life in New York, and then the next I guess, 10 years to 12 years in Washington, D.C. And then I moved to Israel, which is our ancestral home, which is Northeast Africa, and worked on my doctorate to prove that Israel is Northeast Africa, and to go and unpack just what is happening to us as Black people around the world. I came to South Africa to live, I guess, in 2003. I'm a transformation specialist. I'm a pastor and a business person in various fields of endeavor, mainly in agriculture and services. And I've got wonderful daughters, which you alluded to. One of them is Her Majesty Queen Diambi of the Batu people from the DRC. But I'm kind of mom to about 17 kids of all shapes and sizes in all parts of the world. And among those, they have 37 kids. So I got 37 grandkids, and I have 3 great-grandchildren. And I have been blessed to advise several heads of state in Africa, couple of one president in the United States, not the one sitting in the White House now, obviously. And I've just been able to hopefully be used by God to share wisdom about how we have to be as a people, how we're going to get free as a people, how important. I spent a lot of time talking about families and children and choices and what men are designed to do, what women were crafted to do. And so that's a little bit about what I do. I have a YouTube channel, which I just started. I'm so excited because, Mama T is BBC, born before computers. So all of this social networking and stuff is just so, we used to call people on the phone. Even now, when I get frustrated with the WhatsApp video calls, I just said, let me call you on a real phone. I still use a phone. I still buy stamps and write letters and mail them. I think I'm probably a dinosaur in that regard, because I still think that we're people, and we still need to connect with people. And it's a benefit of the internet and the social media. But you can go months and months, and because you're texting people or sending them emails, you really think you've talked to them, and a whole year could go by and you've never heard the voice of someone. So I really work hard to stay in touch with, as you know, all my kids, and call them and check on them and see if they're all right. And so I think that's kind of me a little bit. Hello, family, TV family, Black Ice TV 7 family. This is so exciting. I love this name, Black Ice. And I hope you all are subscribing and joining and sending in your subscription prices. That's the only way we're going to be able to survive the mainstream media, because right now the mainstream media, with all of the respect that it should have, has really let us down. They are just so much in the pocket of commercialization. So we need stations like Black Ice TV. So wherever you are, wherever you're listening, please support them. I'm going to subscribe and send my little contribution. So we're very happy to have this station.
I wanted to ask on the fact of you being an author, because we haven't really spoken much about your book. And I just wanted to know what your book's about and a little dig inside it, just a taster.
Well, I've actually written 17 books and workbooks, but I've been too chicken to publish them. So I give them away in workshops. And finally, one of my granddaughters said, "Oh, Grandma, you got to get one of them because they're all in my computer." So the first book that has been published is a book called The Benefits of a Bankrupt Life. All of my books are biblically based. They're about stories, issues, concepts about the history that we have as a people in Africa. The Bible narratives until Paul goes to Rome happens all in Africa. We cannot keep denying that Egypt is in Africa, and Ethiopia is in Africa, and Syria is in Africa, and Lebanon's in Africa. And by the way, we do send prayers to the people of Lebanon for the incredible incredible tragedy that they experienced yesterday. And we hope that God will just bless the people who survived and bless those families of people who are missing. That was quite something to have happen, surprisingly. So all those, the rivers, the Nile River, the Euphrates is still in Africa. So that was basically what my doctorate was about, to proving that Israel is Northeast Africa. So this book is called The Benefits of a Bankrupt Life, and it is the story about the woman with the issue of blood. So it's a woman who bled for 12 years, lost everything she had, and then gets an encounter with the man of God, with the Messiah, and he tells her a secret that she didn't know before. And so that, I won't give the whole book away, but it's a small little book, but it helps women and men see that the very things that we look for or hunt for or travel all around the world for are really already in us. And we need to spend our time with our inner sanctuary before we start adorning the outside. So it's all about what we already have and what God has already put in us. So it's called The Benefits of a Bankrupt Life. I think it's on Amazon. But I just think we need an alternative to Jeff Bezos. I'm sorry. But it's out there in the earth, and I've gotten a lot of positive responses. And I have another one I'm getting ready to put out now called Woman, Do You Know Your Place? And after 40 years of watching women live, I think we need a new conversation kind of about where women are supposed to be, why we're where we are, and what we could do differently. So all of them are about that.
There's one question I wanted to ask, right? Because you're in Johannesburg, right? And I know you're back and fro there all the time. And when I was going through the Facebook to do a little bit of research and study, and then I stumbled up on a picture, and then Queen Yami said, "Yeah, she's very close to that person," and I said, "You know what? I would love just to share that moment when you used to be around Winnie Mandela."
Well, Nozama, what I call her, and I were best friends for 21 years. I met her in 1997 in New York. Actually, another very good friend of mine, Minister Louis Farrakhan, who I spent years with Bible fighting, Bible learning, introduced me to her. And the moment we met, it was like, we were one person. And so for the next 20 some odd years, she's one of the reasons I really actually moved here, because I lived in Israel. And in fact, these are some of her bracelets, 2 of them. I have about 6 of them. And we were just kind of, friends, really good friends, and sisters, mother, daughter, mother, for over 20 years. And so I guess the last 7 years, I stayed in South Africa a lot just to be with her, because she wasn't kind of feeling really great. So I kind of was with her almost every day.
Because I just want us to share the great memories of her. Because everyone tries to have the opposite side, but I'm all about the positive energy that has been put out there that she has given us. And
Terry, she was a remark. I'm looking at a picture of us now. I wish I could show you. I don't know what's on the internet, but she was a remarkable spirit. I mean, I wish I had half of the level of forgiveness and compassion. I mean, of course, she is, well, that's the European. They always make our leaders other than who they are. They always draw them out to be different than who they are. But she was an amazing spirit of compassion and love. And some days, we would be watching movies or TV, or someone would come by and I would say, how can you talk to that person? Because me, I'm like a thug. I'm like, ugh. I mean, I'm going to forgive them, but let them stay over there. She'd get up and cook for people. She was a remarkable woman. And that's the picture I'm looking at on my wall. And And I would listen to her stories, and I would listen to all the things she went through. And I have a picture of us on her 81st birthday. I don't know if I could get it up on this thing. Maybe Avia somewhere listening, she might be able to, but I'll show you. She was beautiful. And I mean, up close, not without makeup, up close, beautiful. And no one could be that beautiful and have hate in their heart. She would have been crinkled up and with the things that happened to her. I mean, she's got a book called Winnie Mandela, 491 Days. I'll show it to you. I think I know you guys on TV, so it's okay if I get up for a minute.
That's fine. People, remember, hit that like button. We're very privileged to have this.
I have a radio show called Voice of Wisdom, and my son Nick always says Mama T has no TV or radio etiquette. So but this is the book, 491 Days. It's prisoner number 132369. She spent 491 days in solitary confinement. This book is kind of accidental because she was writing diary notes and had them smuggled out just for her own lawyer to know what was happening to her every day. And when the lawyer passed away, his wife brought the notes here to South Africa, and one of Winnie's granddaughters and another lady published this. But this is a lady who was tortured. You know, we focus on the other guy. I know it's terrible, but anyway, that's me. Everybody can love who they love. But you know, the guys over there, they were protected. We have to remember they were protected still by the Geneva Convention, and people's eyes were on them in Robben Island. And yes, they were not treated well, but they were not brutalized. But we must remember the people in the streets of Soweto and the Kailichi and the streets of Alexandria and the streets of all across South Africa, those people were terrorized. The police would show up at Winnie's house at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and take her out of her house in her nightgown and leave Zanani and Zenzi just to be alone. And they were little girls, you know. So there's a lot of things that she endured, torture and beatings and separations and banishment, over and above all the bad things that were said about her and done towards her. And those things are not well known. So this book, 491 Days, are her thinking about that and thinking about, you know, being in solitary confinement for 491 days in a room, by the way, that she couldn't stretch her arms all the way out. The room was this small with a stone floor. I mean, she endured hell, literal hell, for the salvation of this country and for keeping Mr. Mandela's name alive. I mean, you know, 19 other people were arrested with him. You don't know many of those. They're not in the tip of your tongue, but he is on the tip of everybody's tongue because she ensured that. You know, I mean, after a couple of years, he was, yes, a firebrand, but, you know, he was a lawyer. He go to jail, you get forgotten. People are forgotten. But she ensured that the ANC and him were not forgotten. And she was really not treated very nicely, even to the very last days, by the very people who should have been, you know, very nice to her, because she kept this thing alive. She kept it, she fought. And it's interesting because she was a woman, she was a little girl from the country who came to be the first Black social worker. So her fight was going to be on that level as a Black social worker. And she was a medical social worker, but she hadn't thought about being a revolutionary. And just the weight of society, the weight of history, the weight of the times propelled her, you know. And of course, you know, as we girls do, we following a man, into his drama. So of course, she following a man into the drama. And so we have a lot to thank her for. And some days I think about, I get sad about the things that she never got to see happen because of Apartheid is still alive and well in South Africa. It hasn't gone anywhere except underground. 92% of the land is still owned by the white folks, and all the banks, all the insurance companies, all the manufacturing companies, all the food production companies, still in the hand of white monopoly capital. So we still have a long way to go. Some people may say we've come from a long way, but not far enough, because the divide is big. The economic and social divide in the country is big. And I always remind people, Black is not in the rainbow. So we need to really be considering, we can say these kind of things. They're cliche, is the rainbow nation, it's cute and stuff, but Black ain't in the rainbow. So it's clearly that it ain't in this rainbow, because South Africa is still very much divided, very much divided along racial lines, especially economically. There really is a big, big, big divide between the have and the have-nots. And the divide is along color lines of Black and white. So it was my privilege to be her buddy and her friend, and hang out and have fun and eat the food she cooked and talk about people. She was a real good trickster. She knows everything. She knew everything about everybody. So I just have to wash my brain from the stuff I know. Because what sometimes we watch a TV and somebody come on and she'd have some, knew about everybody. But she was a very faithful ANC cadre. Sometime I used to say, "You're the only one playing by the rules, Nozama. You playing by the rules and everybody else playing another game." But she was very faithful, very loyal. There's a whole level of dedication that a lot of those women, not just her, the present minister of Copta, Nkosazana Zuma, all these women, they were very, very faithful. A lot of the veterans, the men, very faithful to the cause of freedom. And we lost another one today, another stalwart, probably one of the last of the men who really stood for freedom for the country. And if any of them were like her, they felt disappointment because they thought something else was going to happen. And it's not very much different than when we fought in the civil rights movement in America. Those who lived past Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, Fannie Lou Hamer. I mean, John Lewis just passed, the great, great John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis. And even he wrote a letter a week before he passed to leave to be read at his funeral, interestingly enough, 2 weeks before he passed, I think. And he's still talking about freedom, still talking about equality, still talking about justice. So you can imagine how that feels when you just you think you're okay. You've worked hard for freedom, for justice, and freedom is different from justice. Freedom, somebody can decide to, let you out the house, but to create a just society takes a lot of time and energy and effort, and people don't do that. So you have the John Lewis. We just lost Elijah Cummings, another major figure in trying to make America really great for the first time, because America's never, America's history of the Native American debacle and bringing slaves could not have made her great in the eyes of God. I mean, remember, there's two kind of greats. There's the great in the eyes of the world, and of course America is, but America got to be great in the eyes of the world because it has free labor for 365 years and it took people's land. I mean, how could you not be great? I mean, you done come over and took people's land and you had slaves working the land. So yeah, I guess you are great.
You like to ask any questions, Brother Rich?
I wanted to ask you, out of some of the stuff that has occurred now in South Africa, what do you think Winnie would have been happy to have seen now that maybe she's missed since being gone? Was there anything that you've witnessed happen or accomplishment that personally she would have smiled over if she could have witnessed?
No, nothing. Because it has nothing to smile over. Last year we had all kinds of craziness in the country about land and compensation, no compensation, and of course we hit the beginning of the year with COVID. And as I say, you only quarantine well people, sick people. You don't quarantine well people. So the sick people who are quarantined, the rest of us are under house arrest, and all around the world. Quarantine is for people who are sick. Right now, currently, there are 6.1 billion people who are sick out of 7.9 billion. But all 7.9 billion of us are locked up, locked down, locked out. She wouldn't be happy about that, I'm sure, because we have millions of people who have. There's no social distancing in Africa, anywhere in Africa. I mean, social distance is for rich people who have a house with 5 bedrooms and 3 people in it. But most of us live in family communes. We got to take care of our grandmama and our aunt and uncle and 2 cousins and 4 sisters and their kids. So, in any house, there's 8 or 9 people at minimum. So the second thing is we make money every day. Africa is a daily bread continent. 85 to 90% of our people make money daily. They're selling stuff on the street. They've got a business every day. So imagine being out of work for 100 days. So we have that. Those are realities so I think she would be talking a little differently and pushing the envelope about why certain things are occurring, not only in South Africa, but in Africa. There are some countries in Africa that are a little more wise about this than we are in South Africa, I must admit that. And so they're not as closed down as we are. So, there's always reasons for why certain things happen, but it's quite challenging. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head in the last 5 years. I mean, she's been gone for 2. Of course, we just lost Zinzi, her youngest daughter, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was not a happy time. But in terms of any progressive good thing, no. In fact, in her last couple of weeks, we were talking about she wanted to go to Maracana. We had that great, challenging, horrible thing that happened at the mine at Maracana, and these men were killed, and she wanted to really go help the widows in Maracana. So that's where her mind was. But there wasn't any great accomplishment that has happened. Not really. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, when you was talking about some of the greats that have passed recently, do you see any new up and coming, where in the ranks that you feel confident that can at least take up where some of you guys are leaving off? Do you see a next generation coming up and really taking on board some of the issues that you guys have been fighting on?
You two. I'll start with you two, with the 2 of you. Of course, my daughter, Her Majesty Queen Diambi. There are those. I mean, I'm an optimist. I'm the ultimate optimist. So I'm always knowing God's got something up his sleeve. When we grew up in the 60s and the 70s, of course, there were names that were big. There were big names. There was Malcolm X. There was Martin King. There was on Africa's side, there was Sankara. There was Lumumba. There was Nkrumah. There was Julius Nyerere. Of course, in America, we had Rosa Parks. We had John Lewis. We had Stokely Carmichael. We had the Black Panthers. We had Bobby Seale. We had so many people, the movements, the energy. We had Imaru Baraka, who I studied under at the Topographical Society. Then we had a whole cadre of political leaders. My spiritual brother was Marion Barry, mayor of DC. Then we had black mayors. We had a few. Ed Brooks was a good friend. He was a senator, one of the first black senators since Reconstruction. So when I think of my growing up, 60s, 70s, 80s, we had a myriad on both sides of the water of fighters: Shirley Chisholm, C. Dolores Tucker, Barbara Jordan. You go down the list. And in the arts, we had, Maya Angelou, we had Toni Morrison, we had, in every field of endeavor, we had movers and shakers who were shaking the very foundation of racism, white supremacy, women's rights. We had all of those, and you could know them. You could know them, and even in the music. I mean, Tupac was a revolutionary. I mean, we can't ignore that whole work of that whole group of young people then. I mean, he would be 50 something now, but so in terms of growing up with that, and today, do we have that across the world? I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I think that and it's unfortunate because in the 30s we had it, in the 40s we had it, in the 50s. So it wasn't like every time from the Harlem Renaissance, for example, to the push in Africa for independence in the 60s. Remember, Ghana got independence like what, 63 or 64, and so no one got tired or lazy. So there was always a push in America. We had the Pullman porters and the railroad people. They were fighting in the 30s and 40s, even right after the Depression and right after World War II. There was always this push of leaders who pushed for education. Then we had all the black colleges. And so we had that push for forever, from the 1800s, and something happened, I guess, around, the 80s, where integration, and I keep saying integration killed us, because we didn't integrate, we assimilated. So when we were segregated, we had something to push. We had pride, so we had Black Wall Street, we had Elaine, Tennessee, we had all these pockets, especially in America, of Black life pushing. Then that pushed, we got a Marcus Garvey. I mean, where is a Marcus Garvey that's going to pull 3.5 million people to give him $2 a week? I mean, and $5. I mean, where that spirit is going. Malcolm X found the Nation of Islam with Elijah Muhammad, bless his soul, with 30 or 40 people. He built that into 100,000 people. Where's the Malcolm? Martin King, he was minding his business as a wonderful preacher and bumped into Rosa Parks. She initiated that whole process because she wasn't going to stand up or sit down in the back. So I'm thinking in my mind, across the world, are there 10 or 15 or 20 or one of that caliber? And I can't find them literally in the earth, but I know they're in the earth because God is fair, and God is more than fair. God has justice, and he would never leave us without a voice. I believe that they're coming and they're working in a different milieu. I think we also have the reality of that's why this black ice is so important, because now, it decides, the media decides who's famous and who isn't. And I'm always telling Black people, I remember there's a statement by Stephen Biko that says, if you find that they love me, kill me, because that means they done bought me. And that's true, because, when the white folks love you to the extent that you become their model citizen of the Black people, there's a problem. And it always has been that way. It always has been that way. Hello, my darling Queen Diambi. It's cool. And so it really is scary, because we need leaders, but we know when we get them. But I've come to the place, I guess, at this age where I say, you can't kill us all. So it ain't no sense for us to be quiet. We might as well just open our mouth and take our chances and, make sure your thing is straight with God so that you know where you're going and there's the everlasting life in you, which is what I believe. I'm not trying to push it on everybody else, but it is a good idea to kind of think that a tree can live 1,000 years and we only get like 100 years. So I'm banking on the fact that there's something else after this. You know what I mean? I'm on my way to forever. I'm hoping that I'm on my way to forever because
I feel you. I feel you on that one. There's got to be more.
Yeah, it's got to be more because if this is it, God is really he is not the one we should be really working with. So I'm going to go with the fact that there's more. And in that reality, I think we have to find courage, and so when you ask me, are there ones on the horizon? I'm sure there are. Like I said, my daughter is great. She speaks truth to power, but so many people who could make a difference are compromised. They're compromised because we want to have things on the outside and we're not so concerned about our lives on the inside. So we want stuff and we want power and we want prestige and we want to belong and we want to be part of the clique and part of the crew. And of course, that costs your integrity and it costs your ability to, excuse me, your ability to speak. I have a wonderful daughter here, and she had to leave her job because she had such a big voice. And then when she got the job, it muzzled her. And I said to her, well, you just come and live in my house then, because you cannot be muzzled to get a paycheck. At some point, you have to say no. And it may cost you. But if we all stuck together, like with the Garvey time and those times, we would get so much more done. But we want what we want for me. But we're never going to make it without Ubuntu. I mean, that's what Africa was formed on, that I am you and you are me, and we make it. So I am optimistic that I don't know. I'm sure I don't know everything. And I definitely don't know everyone in the world. So I'm sure there are those, because God would not leave us without a witness. But I just grew up with knowing lots of those. And now I'm in a state where I don't know 10 of those. But doesn't mean they're not there. It doesn't mean they're not existing. It doesn't mean that God's not training them. But I think this middle time of ease, this is the whole thing about the so-called freedom, or letting us join them, join their society. It has put us at ease. And it has put us almost to sleep. We're almost sleepwalking because we think that we've made it, so we hold up the movie stars and we hold up the rap stars and we hold up, a few politicians, and we celebrate them and we clap and we get excited and we think we arrived. So then the push and the fire that we had, we damp it down a little bit, because we really easygoing people, actually. We really just, we Rodney King, can't we all get along? Why can't we all get along, And of course, we all can't get along because, until the bad people reconcile with us, we're never going to get along. So all that talk is just talk until the person who stole my stuff and killed my ancestors come back and say, I did it, I'm sorry, and here's some stuff to repair you. Then what are we talking about? We're never going to have justice, because freedom, first of all, you can't give me freedom. I have to take it. And you can't give it to me. It wasn't yours it's not yours to give. I was born to be free. So you, as a country, as a president, as whoever, Europe, America, you can't give me freedom. Freedom is taken back because you took it. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation if you hadn't taken it. So that's the first reality. Then we should have justice. I fight with women a lot because I don't want equality with men. I want equity. And it's a difference. I mean, look at all this good stuff I got. I'm not trying to be equal with you. Equal means the same thing on both sides. We're silly. I want equity and I want justice. And I have to get that myself. I have to put us in a position and put you who's holding that from me in a position that is better for you to give me what is due me than for you to keep holding it. Because when you have made a man so desperate, he can't, what does he have to lose? You're going to kill him? You can only kill him once. Okay, so, all right, so now, but there's somebody else coming and coming. You know, I gave a talk a couple of weeks ago, and I said to white people, you know, your method of killing us is not working, because for the slave trade, you killed almost 200 million of us, and now there's 2 billion of us. So I think that's not working for you. So we need to come up with some new strategies, because we are not going anywhere. If you think all the things that have been leveled against us, from sterilization to the Tuskegee experiment to murder to making up, you know, the AIDS virus, and to killing us with Agent Orange and everything, we are still here. And though weaker than we were, because most of our diets are decimating diets, but we are still here, and we're still here and making babies and taking names and playing bid whist. We still here. So we need to rethink how we interface with one another that has caused so much devastation, because it's founded in fear and greed, and it's mine, and I can come and take your stuff. It's, you know, I mean, Shaka Zulu was one of the greatest warriors in the world, but he still could not beat a Gatling gun. You know, if it had been hand-to-hand combat, would have been a different outcome. But that group of people, they use very aggressive methodology to take stuff that's not theirs. It's not even, they have it to protect what's theirs, because none of this stuff was theirs. All of this was ours. America was the Native Americans. All of the now we have 55 countries in Africa, but at one point it was Pangaea, and there was like 5 different just big sections. But they sit in Berlin in 1844 and carve up Africa. So you go to bed, you're in Nigeria, you wake up in the morning, you're in Benin, or you're in Cameroon. Who the hell said that was all right? And we still are negotiating, trying to get along, you know, trying to keep the peace, you know, trying to have win-win. You know, win-win is a nice concept, but it doesn't work in basketball or football or tennis or any game of sport. Someone wins and someone loses. And we have been on the losing end, because we're in the games that we don't even know the rules. So I don't know, son. I'm sure somebody's coming, because God is like that. I'm sure there's a Joseph somewhere, or a Nehemiah, or a David, or you know, a Joshua. I'm sure they're there. I meet young people. I meet people every day who have a fire to do something, but the environment certainly is prone for that, because it's just too much deprivation. The world is mean, and the world is unstable, and the world is so deeply divided along lines of power that something has to give. You know, something will have to give, or else no flesh will survive. Now, you know, people who have psychosis, they're saying, well, if I can't have you, nobody can have you. I kill me and you. You know, we get the suicide bomber type people, or murder-suicide type people. We know they exist, but there are more of us who want life than those who don't want life. And we have abdicated our want life position to the people who are nuts. You know, we don't want no bother. It's okay. It's going to pass. No. We have to fight for the living. If we don't, look at this COVID thing. I call it the covert pandemic, so forgive me. If you just analyze it, it's the most insane thing that we have accepted. The most insane thing that we accepted. And any time that anyone has the temerity to say that, then they get blocked or they get taken off the YouTube or they get closed down from Facebook. But the other day I was looking for something and it was very good science. And I checked and double checked. I'm a researcher. I called some other people, very good science. Facebook said that they were touting something that wasn't true. So then I just looked, just by looking. See, okay, you got rules. Do you know the world spends $3,075 every second on pornography? That's $97 billion a year. So something that is good for us, that could help us, that could make us think, and everybody doesn't have to agree with everything. That's what makes the world so interesting. We're not robots, at least not yet. We get with AI, we get ready to not have a brain at all. But they allow $97 billion of pornographic, horrible, nasty, all kinds of crazy stuff on the air at $3,000 a second. And yet something that they don't think is their rules can't be on YouTube and so censored. Imagine. But that's the mind that, so when you ask me who's coming, I don't know, but I know they need to come quick because the world is upside down. Good is bad, bad is good, up is down, down is up. We're in Orwell's 1984 10 times over. So it's my prayer and my desire and my trust in God that there are a whole cadre of people coming. We just have not heard of all of them yet. And the ones we do hear, like Diambi, Her Majesty, we need to support them. And like you guys, like Black Ice, we need to support this. But we won't, because when we get some money, we go buy Jordans or we go spend money and we don't, our money turns over half a second and we give it right back to the very people who are holding us hostage.
Some big facts, big facts, big facts. Listen, before you ask your question or you say the next thing, people, whoever's watching who hasn't hit the like button, please go ahead and do so. If you want to donate, the link is there. Use the PayPal links for New Beginning or Black Ice TV rather than the super chat. But by all means, please hit that like button and get this video shared and tell your friends come in and hear this live conversation. Go, Truto.
Yeah, I was going to let me just quickly add to that don't forget the 15th and 16th is going to be a 2-day telethon all day. I'm even going to the gym for it because I'm going to wait for 2 days with so much people coming through. It's going to be unbelievable. We're pushing this out. So whoever you feel you can gravitate to, whoever you feel that can uplift you, this is a greater cause. Because this is
something for all.
A cause for something for our youth to able to do the exchange program. As you know, Dr. Layla Africa has passed away. So we've named this exchange program in his name called the DLA, right? The Dr. Layla Africa Rites of Passage Exchange Program. This is for our children to able to engage globally. And then straight after globally, when they get to around 15 to 21, they get the opportunity to come into Africa to do a 7 days rites of passage. The first protocol that we're building in Africa is working with Queen Diambi in Congo. So we need as much help as possible because this is a foundation for our children. So yeah, I just had to give that out there to the general public so that they can understand. But please share it and tell people we need to engage. Because even if you've got a business, you can come on, promote your business, whether it's a service, whether it's a product. Please come on, promote your product, promote your services, because it's free for all. This is a Black History Weekender. So you're going to get a whole heap of scholars. You've got people like Professor James Smalls, Queen Diambi, Dr. Luck. You've got endless, but I'm going to keep on going through. But you know what? This is a time of us coming together, because you can see what's happening around, you can see the energy. It's for us to come together and unify, because it is time. We keep on talking. Let's do the job. So yeah, getting back to our discussion.
No, but you said something so important when you're talking. Richie's mentioned, what do we see on the horizon? I want to keep going back, but 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we had such a fire in our belly for justice and equity and freedom and education. And I feel in this current time that a couple things have happened that we have to keep banging home. One is our diets have dulled our brain. We are eating the worst diets in the world. And of course, it's the fuel for the body. So the body's getting white flour, white sugar, all the whites that really kill us, the soft drinks with the sugar. So I think we are kind of just lazy couch potatoes, basically. Then on top of that, in the homes, when we talk about the Black family, which is one of the things we want to talk about, is where is the Black family? It's a myth now. Where's the Black family really? And I mean, there's no mom and dad and 4 or 5 kids. There's single women households. And most of those women are pissed at my baby daddy. There are women, when we grew up, the Black family consisted of at least 3 generations, more like 5. Grandma, great grandma, your mom, your dad, you, and maybe your kids. We don't have that. We don't have intergenerational family houses anymore. Someone told us it was all right to put our elders into an elder home because we don't have time. Someone told women that just a mother, just a housewife was small and not the most critical job ever. We've told men it's fine, just drop your seed anywhere. You don't have to be responsible. So now we have a tune from January now to the day, over 25 million abortions, 25 million abortions since January. Then and at least half of them belong to Black women, I'm sure. Then we have men who have children who don't know where they are, who don't care. So the whole structure has been decimated. It's been decimated. So when you have a call out for rites of passage, which is extraordinary, we need to be very creative about how those boys or girls, if they include girls, are hearing from you. Because the family structure, we have abrogated, we have weaponized the television, we have weaponized the little tablets. We don't even know what our kids are watching, and they have weaponized communication. So we don't know what they're hearing or watching. There's no family dinner time because nobody has time. Dad is not there. Mom's working overtime. Everybody's trying to go up the corporate ladder. Everybody's trying to have more than, their mama had, And so where is the Black family? Where's the nucleus of that? Where is it? I mean, I don't think parents spend 15 minutes a day with their kids. So if they have a little means, there's a nanny or a housekeeper. And if they work hard because they don't have a little means, then they leave in the morning and they come back very late, or they doing everything but raising their children. So the children are raising themselves. So when you have reports of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of children being snatched every year, being kidnapped every year, being sold for either sexual reasons, crazy religious rituals, this is real, because who's watching the babies? Who's watching the kids? Mama's going up the corporate ladder. Daddy's got his next group of women, and we're not having these conversations that make us think about what choices are we making.
Mama T, I want to ask, right? Compared to like you being in the States and you being in South Africa, do you see a differentiation between the two families in terms of how they deal with things?
I didn't hear the first part.
I said, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I was saying in forms of the United States and in South Africa, the family structure. Do you feel both of them have changed, and are they very similar in the way the family structure is today, especially in South Africa?
Oh, especially, yeah, South Africa is America in Southern Africa. I mean, it's Western world. Yes, they've changed a lot. We've decided that the family structure is not so important anymore. You know, they're very similar. America has eroded, South Africa has eroded. And you know, we don't have time. We're too busy being busy. We don't have time. Now we have amazing traditional cultural realities, but you know, some of them are passe. I mean, if you go to the village, you know, deep in the village, you'll find still families working, but we don't pay attention to that because they're primitive. You know, they're in the village. So everybody want to be in the big city. Everybody want a big tech job. We have definitely not told young people about how great agriculture is, which is what our field is. What it means to grow healthy food, what it means to create in your hands, to have trees and air. They don't want that. Everybody want to work in a computer. Everybody want to work in an office. Everybody wants to be in the big city. They want to go hang out. So, you know, the whole thing of what we told people was important. You know, when I grew up, everybody wanted to be Leave It to Beaver, and then we got the Cosbys, and we wanted to be with the Huxtables. You know, we wanted to be that family, but we don't want to be that family anymore. We have alternative families, different families. We have all that. That might be fine, but we're not even supporting that. And the best thing we grew up with was intergenerational. We had 2, 3, 4 generations in a house. So if mommy was tired because she had to go work in white women's kitchens, grandma was home, auntie was home. Nobody came home ever to an empty house, to a latchkey kid with nobody had that. We didn't grow up with that. And, you know, so somebody was home, Aunt May, Uncle Bubba, somebody was always in the house. And we weren't afraid that they were going to rape somebody or sleep with them. And all of that kind of behavior is abhorrent and is antithetical to the original African idea, on both sides of the Atlantic. So now this has never happened. In South Africa particularly, there's over 200,000 households headed by children under 15. That was never the case. Most of those are because of the great devastation of HIV, which morphed into AIDS, which parents died, grandparents maybe took the kids and then they got old and died. So now these houses are being held by young people who should be in school, getting ready to have their first date, you know, going to the prom. They're raising their brothers and sisters. Now, in times past, all those kids would be with family. But there's no family to be with. Because either the next generation has died, the grandmama is too old, the young mother who might have had a baby, now she's your grandmother, she ain't got time. She's trying to live her life. So where are those kids? So now kids are raising kids, they're trying to go to school, then they have to figure out how to work. Then the social grants here are almost embarrassing, because I don't know how you live on 400 or 500 rand a month for 3 people. It's not $500 or $600, it's rand. And at the rate now, 500 rand is like $35, it's 28 pounds. So a month. I don't know what you do with that. So now we're pushing the young girls out to get, what they call a blesser. So somebody's blessing me with a phone, or they're blessing me with ads on my phone, and they're blessing me with a little coin. But we've turned them into whores, and cheap ones too. They're not even high class call girls. They whores. Get 100 Rand or 500 Rand. We push that because they see stuff. Or we got kids on the corner prostituting or selling themselves to get a loaf of bread. How did we, as African people, how did we get here? And of course, we're going to deal with the symptoms. So we're going to try to take girls off the street. We have an orphanage that we support with about 80, 90 girls. And so we know they're safe. But those are the symptoms. We very seldom dig deep for the cause, because the cause points back to our decisions, and we don't want that. So we want to blame it on apartheid. We want to blame it on white people. We want to blame it on racism. We want to blame it on white supremacy. We want to blame it on everybody else is responsible except us. But we ourselves know how to clean our street. I know how to sweep in front of my house. I know how to make sure my grandkids have a meal. I know how to make sure they go to school. I don't need nobody to tell me that. I don't need a government intervention. I don't need any of that. We don't need anything for 4 or 5 women to get together, get a big house, and 2 of them go out to work and 2 stay home to take care of kids. We don't need anybody to teach us how to do that. We used to do that. That's how we lived. We lived to community. We lived in the concept, the mind concept of Ubuntu. So we didn't need anybody to teach us how to do. So now we've turned our kids over to the government. So we say that girls can have abortions without telling their parents under 15. We've decided who can marry who. We've decided all of those different things that have a problem in the family structure, and nobody wants to say anything because it's not politically correct, and everybody have freedom. Then we said we can't spank our kids, which I'm definitely going to jail on that one. So you ain't going to be in my house and tell me what you're going to do. So take me to jail now. Let's just take me now, get my cell ready, or take the kids. So you got a choice. I can't discipline them. Take their butts out of here to your house and let them be in your house being a fool. They're not going to be in my house being a fool. So who decided that, oh, it's gonna warp the child's mind if they get spanked? Man, we grew up where our grandmama told you, see that tree over there? We had to go get the object of our torture. And please don't bring back a little twig. They said, no. They'll tell you you have to almost get a branch off the tree, a branch. And how did we come out? We didn't come out hating our parents and killing them. No, now we spank them. Them kids shoot their parents, stab their parents in the bed, kill them, steal their money, go off on vacation. That's what happened to those who have no discipline at all because they're so delicate. And what's going to happen with their mind? And we don't want to warp them. Oh, no, I'm going to warp your butt. You're going to get your butt beat. And if you don't like it, there's the door. Look at us. We didn't turn, and we have great leaders. We had great leaders, great thinkers who were all raised with this, the switch from the tree. And now we can't touch the kids. Look what we have. We have opiate addiction you want to get some pandemics? I got some pandemics for you. Massive amount of drug abuse, massive amount of alcohol abuse. But we can't, and then we can't even holler at them because it'll affect their self-esteem. Hey, bring it. Take me out of here, because you are not living up in here. I just had my nephew here, and he's a big, he's a genius with rapping and all that. And that's wonderful. We're gonna find him a recording contract and everything. But he was like, Mama T, I don't know. I said, I was like, come again. He kind of raised his voice like that. I was like, excuse me. Well, Mama T, I don't. You gonna bring it down, buddy. I have grown girls 50 and 55, and they be like whispering. Because as old as you get, I'm still older. I see we come from that. So even when people come to me for counseling and advice, I say, they did what? My brain, I hear the words, my ear hear the words, but my brain stops at the water's edge because I'm like, they did what? And so, which hospital are the children in? No, we couldn't doctor because there's a. I'm like, which bed are they under? Because when we grew up, we couldn't even do like you do that, and
right.
Your head is over there, and the rest of your body's over here. And God forbid you should do this. God forbid. If you wanted eyes tomorrow, you didn't do. Even if you look up like this. Oh no, God.
Right. Real talk. No child that's ever been spoiled has ever come back and said thank you. That's the killer. No child that's been given everything and constantly given has ever come back in the history and said thank you, Mom, for giving me everything. The ones though that was punished, they come back.
We say thank you. Because let me tell you what happens when you give everything. There's never enough. I love movies, and this one song, and I love movies in general, but The Greatest Showman, there's a song that became famous, Never Enough. That song is the epitome of current events. Never enough. It's trying to fill a bottomless pit. The more you give, the more there's no gratitude. No gratitude. I want more. I want more. No matter what you do. That's why I even tell women when they have ungrateful husbands, you're never going to solve it. When you got ungrateful kids, let them go. Because you will spend the rest of your life never achieving what you're trying to achieve, which is to satisfy them or make them happy. Or that ship has sailed. That is never going to happen. You cannot make anybody happy. If happiness does not reside in you, and what I do may activate and you're a little happier, but to put happiness in you, oh, hell to the no, it ain't working. And all I'll do is make myself crazy because I'll keep thinking, I'm not enough. What did I do? How did I do it? Why don't they love me? Why don't they appreciate me? Because they ain't going to appreciate nobody. Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, bring somebody, Hare Krishna, whoever, bring them. They're never going to be satisfied. And that's the world we have now, an ungrateful world. And that one song, Never Enough, is the truth. It's never enough. The more they get, the more they want. The more they want, the more they get. You try to appease them. Imagine appeasing your kid? That's what I'm telling you. I have to stop and woosah and hear, because I'm saying, what? I don't even know what you are saying. I don't even know what you are saying. I'm trying to I hear the word I hear these words, but I don't understand what they mean in trying to negotiate with your kids. Oh, I don't even understand that. Trying to, when my grandson was smaller, his teacher wanted him to call him by the first name. I took him out that school. So we don't call grown-ups by their first name. Their auntie, their miss, but Carol, Joan. Imagine I'm a 4-year-old child walking up to me calling me Toni. I'll be like, my kids don't call me Toni, and they 50. I have associates don't call me Toni, and they 60. I don't even understand. In fact, when I hear Toni, I'm wondering, who they calling? Where did we get so familiar? But now we're so familiar, we have no respect. So now we've let everybody's on equal footing. We are not equal. I'm not equal with my kids. Never, ever.
I just wanted to ask into this, right, Mama T, is that, like in forms of economics and family, like before it was you was trained through the family business, before you establish yourself. Now I'm seeing less of that and not focusing on generational legacies in that format. How do you see things of the past and how do you see things now?
Well, I said this earlier, segregation was good for us. Separate but equal has validity. The thing we were fighting for was abuse, was the inequity of the separation. But segregation allowed us to create legacy wealth because in those days we owned barbershops, so it passed to your son. We owned liquor stores, passed to your children. We owned insurance companies. We owned publishing houses. We owned all of those things. We owned restaurants. We owned all of those things in a segregated world, in a world which was, in our world, a Black world. Okay, so, we were fighting for equity, but we called it equality. We called it integration. And soon as those things came into play, all of our economics broke. Why? Because all of the time we are looking across the water saying white people's ice is colder and white people's water is wetter. So as soon as we could move into their neighborhoods and shop in their stores and do all of that and go down Fifth Avenue and all that, we left out what had made us great as a people. So now, we're not interested in our little businesses anymore, and we're not looking, but we had everything. We had dress shops, we had cleaners, we had shoe shine parlors, we had stores for shoe repair, we had all that. We had laundromats. So as soon as we could go live with the white people in their area, we didn't have any more of that. So now the next generation of kids, they're not interested. Look at what happened too. We lost all the trades. See, so when we were growing up, you either were in liberal arts or you were in the trade arts. So you learned plumbing, you learned electricity, you became an electrician, plumbing, carpentry. Those were given in the Black community. Those were given. In fact, that was the fight between Booker T. Washington and W.E. Du Bois, whether we should all learn Socrates and Plato, or should some of us learn how to mop a floor and make a carpentry, make a box. And in my opinion, Booker T won, because now we got all these educated Negroes, negative growth, so-called Black people, African Americans, middle class, and really. And so we've cut out all the trade schools. We stopped all those things. So now we have a group of people who may not have all the wherewithal to go and sit and read Shakespeare. I got the wherewithal and I don't want to sit and read them. But I know how to work in my hands. I know how to sew because I had a mother who taught me how to be Booker T. Washington's daughter. Then I had another mother who taught me how to be W.E.B. Du Bois's daughter. So I'm glad to have the mix. But when I think about how I can always feed my family, whether I should give a lecture somewhere, which is valid and important, or whether I can cook a meal and sell it to 10 people. So we lost the balance of that. So everybody want to be on this side. They want to be in the office. They want to be in a suit. They want to have their nails manicured. They want to do all that. But that's not the majority of the world. That's a small group. The majority of the world needs things fixed. They need plumbers, electricians, carpenters, painters. The world needs people who could do stuff with their hands. They need cooks. They need housekeepers. They need house managers. They need people who can clean the stable with the horses. If you got horses, we don't want to do none of that. So now we have a whole bunch of people, Black people worldwide, who are not equipped to do anything because we took them away from the trade school because everybody thought they were going to sit in the office and type on a computer. Not going to happen. We don't need that many of those people, but we need a lot of carpenters and a lot of electricians and a lot of people who work in the fields and grow food for the community. We need a lot of those people. But
Okay,
we've lost those skills because we thought they were lesser.
So would you see, like, now that you're having a lot of people doing the repatriation, in the fact of, you know, coming back to Africa, what kind of advice would you give someone that says, I'm going to pick up my bags, leave London or New York, and say, I'm coming to Johannesburg to live and bring my family?
Well, the first thing I would suggest you do is come and visit, because I am part of the Diaspora Africa Forum, and I've helped talk to a lot of diasporans who want to come home. They have a fantasy of what that means. Johannesburg is more modern and more equipped than most of the rest of Africa. Of course, the Ivory Coast and Senegal used to be, but of course they let some wars and things hurt them. Ghana is coming up, but most of Africa is still working on infrastructure, still working on water, still working on electricity. And so I tell people now, when we advise them from the Diaspora Africa Forum, which is in Ghana under the auspices of Ambassador Erica Bennett, we say on a regular basis, come and visit. Now, of course, a visit is not living, because you're visiting, you're in a hotel and you see all the spice, but we try to show people the whole way the country works. And so even in South Africa, which is so modern, we have load shedding. So there could be a day when we have no lights that day. Well, you know, most diasporans, even when they live a little bit below the level of, you know, middle class, they're used to certain things. They're used to a toilet in the house. They're still used to some electricity. They're used to water. They can come here and not find any of that here, meaning Africa globally. And so I've found that many, now it's changing because there's some awareness. Oh, but in the early days, Black people didn't last in Africa. They didn't. They couldn't. They first of all, they complained all the time about everything. So if the lights go out in Nigeria, which is very real, if the lights go out in Liberia, which is definitely very real, then there's no adjustment. So we always suggest that if you are ready to come home and you think you're ready to come home, your spirit feels like it's time, you need to come and visit 2 or 3 times. That's the first thing. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is Africa had a brain drain. So you need to come to Africa giving something. Now, Africa is going to be lovely to you because the pace is different. And it really is a nice rhythm when you get into the rhythm. And for me, it's definitely wonderful because I have a wonderful housekeeper and a driver, which I could not afford if I lived in Washington, D.C., unless I really didn't do anything for anybody else. So we suggest that people come to whatever country, research the country, figure out why you're there. You need to, a lot of these countries, like, well, it's 14 French-speaking countries. Then we have Portuguese-speaking countries. Then we have some Spanish, couple Spanish-speaking countries. Then, so you got to be in a country where you're comfortable with the language and you understand. So the thing is, you come and you visit a couple of times. You establish a couple of friends that you know. You get a chance to look at the whole country as much as you can to see where you might want to live. Of course, you can buy things in Africa that are the equivalent in some cases even better than the standards of the UK or the United States. But to just pick up your things and come without doing some groundwork is a disaster. Unless you're Marco Polo or you're interested in being a real explorer, it's not good, because the cultural differences, the Blackness is only a part of us being connected. But you all know you can be Black and have different cultures and don't know each other at all. And the skin is not helping you at all. In fact, it's a hindrance, because you wondering, why don't you understand me? And really, we are not. This skin thing was made up in the middle of the 40s, calling people Black and white and like that. But we were always known by our culture. So a man from one culture or one tribe may not get along with a man from another tribe. They both physically Black, but their cultural connections are so diverse that they can't get along. That's how the Biafra War started. That's how the Rwanda War started. Same color, worship the same God, but their cultural was so diverse, they caused a war. And nobody was willing to talk, so they were willing to kill. So that happens. So just because you want to come back to Africa, and just because you may have some means to come back to Africa, you need to visit a couple times to see how it resonates in your spirit, because it's not just that easy. It takes a whole nother kind of mindset. The rhythm is different. The way in people, a friend of mine just moved here to work at United Way or something with her 2 daughters. And, she's doing well, but they had a big adjustment, a very big adjustment. And it is a big adjustment. That would be the case if you move from New York to Australia, or move from, Alaska to Canada, and they close by. It's an adjustment period. So no one needs to come with a fantasy mind. They need to come flat-footed, really sincere. They need to have their own little budget, because Africa can't afford to take care of nobody else. So definitely don't need to come and you looking for a handout. So you need to come with a gift or a skill that you can be useful to the country. Because like I said, there was a serious brain drain. So we've lost, there are more doctors in New York City than there are in Nigeria. More Nigerian doctors in the UK than in Nigeria. So, but that's a lifestyle people are used to. So you're not trying to come back to a country that don't have a hospital bed. Yesterday, I was supposed to get an x-ray, and the x-ray machine was broken. Now, a doctor's pulling from the UK with x-ray machines everywhere. He pulling his hair out his head, talking about he can't work because they're in a hospital and the x-ray machine is broken. What does that mean? So someone from America or England is saying, what does that mean? There's no x-ray machine in the hospital. But the doctor we talked to was like, it'll get fixed. It's getting fixed soon. Okie dokie. Thank God there's other hospitals here in South Africa, but I kind of, it's going to happen. Well, the Western mind don't understand that. They want it now, right now, get fix this, let's go. And so they'd be so impatient with this pace. The pace is like easy peasy. It's going to be okay. It's going to happen. Don't worry. And that, especially Americans, they like, why don't I have it now? I need it. And I'm telling you, when American Blacks come to Africa, they don't, a few stay. There's a bigger contingent in Ghana. It's a little better. But down in the southern region, no, baby, they go home. They go back. They be like, oh, you got this. Peace out. They be like,
What do you think is the future, though, for Black people who are in this diaspora? So for those brothers and sisters that don't feel like they want to leave, how do you see the future panning out for them in America, in UK, in parts of Europe? Do you think that's a sustainable future, or do you think at some point everyone will have to come to that conclusion that if you're of a certain mind state, you need to leave?
Well, I think both. I think there'll always be a place for Africans of any persuasion in Europe and in America in the West. I don't think that. I think if it gets as bad as you've described it, we're all going out of here, because it'll be not sustainable even for the white people. You can't have that kind of angst and that level of displacement and not have it boomerang on you. So I think that kind of untenable reality that no Black can stay in Europe or the West is probably not going to be the case for a little while. Now, it may be uncomfortable, which it's becoming, it's, more and more uncomfortable. But I don't think it'll be untenable. So that's the first thing. Do I think every Black person should come to Africa? Absolutely not, because I think there are too many Black people who don't get Africa, and we sure don't need another set of hell coming in here with people who already have made preconceived notions. I know this is tricky, but Mama T is not politically correct. But Black people don't really like Black people, and diasporans don't really, we have to work hard on diasporans to not turn their nose up at the native born African. I mean, that's what happened with the establishment of the country of Liberia. There were Liberians in Liberia when the American Religious Society sent to Africa the freed slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we get. That's how we got the Liberian War. The Amerigo Liberians turned their nose up at the local natives. So it's all that's real. See, so I always try to give some background because we always deal with the symptom, but we don't deal with how we even got to this place. So I do believe there will always be Black people in both Europe and North America. But I do think that there is you see me getting ready to go to sleep. I do think that there is a thrust now and an open door on a lot of levels. I think Ghana did an amazingly magnificent job in the year of return last year. We were able, Diasporic African Forum, we were able to participate with that initiative. It was magnificent. And Ghana had never issued, I think the number was never issued more than 25 or 30, maybe less than 50,000 visas. And they issued over 1 million. Not everybody went, but the idea of having that visa and the passport, people got very, very excited. People came from England, from the rest of Europe, from America. So I think there is a new awakening. This happened when Mary McKever came to America and Stokely Carmichael. This happened when Marcus Garvey got excited. But this one, I think, is even more strategic because there are people like Queen Diambi, there's people like you guys in this show, there are people talking, there are a lot of Africans who are in Europe and America who are now awakening themselves. Because remember, a lot of Africans, they are African British or African American. They're not trying to come to Africa, not like that. Their creature comforts are too real to just, give away. But I think we're getting there. I think we're talking. One of my sons is an amazing lawyer in Washington, and he's from Ghana. And in his household, his two daughters only speak Ga. They speak English because they go to an English school. But in his home, well, where did he learn that from? Interestingly enough, his family left Ghana and went to England. They said no African language will be spoken here. But then grandma came from Ghana, and she only spoke Ga. So my son learned it. My spiritual son learned Ga, and now he only has that language in his house with his daughters, which is wonderful. Because one of the things Africans have that we don't have at all is they have 3 or 4 languages in their head, some more. My granddaughter, she speaks 11 languages here. And remember, every African speaks the colonial language. Then they speak their own dialect. Then they speak 2 or 3 other dialects within their country. We don't have that. We Black people, we created Ebonics. And we don't even know that anymore. So, there's a lot to think about when you come to Africa, because it's not, it's not all rosy, and it's beautiful when you get here. It's wonderful. I love it. I can't imagine living anywhere else except I go up to Northeast Africa and live in Israel. But you know, you need to know why you're coming. You need to know what's happening on the ground. You need to understand what the costs of things are. You need to understand what kind of living conditions you want to have, where you're going to get your car, how you're going to drive on the wrong side of the street, or the opposite. Well, not for England, but certainly for America. So it's a lot to think about. So I advise everybody to come to Africa. But if you're going to come to stay, you need to give yourself the proper foundation and the proper structures around you so that you really can make the transition successfully.
But I was going to talk about on the side of what you do a lot in South Africa in forms of farming and agriculture. How is it out there, and is it easy to establish yourself in forms of agriculture itself?
Africa's open for business on that rise. You know, the African Development Bank, under the amazing leadership of Dr. Ken Adesina, has begun to highlight he's an amazing farmer. So it began to highlight the African agricultural opportunity. So there are a lot of them. Okay, so South Africa is less prone about this land because we're still in the fight, but countries like Zambia, Malawi, Botswana, those around are looking for opportunities to share investment chances and opportunities with investors. So that's an available open opportunity. You do need to know how to farm. You do need to know what you want. You do need to know where you're going with what you want. And you do need to come with a little bit of money. But a lot of land in Africa is owned by the state. A lot of land that is sitting fallow. There's no house on it. There's no business operation on it, but it can grow anything. So a lot of land is in the hands of government. And so, when you think about those kinds of things, you come prepared. You come with your research done. You get an on-ground. Definitely always have an on-ground person, someone who knows. Preferably if they're African American is good, but just if they speak English, and you're going, say, to Portuguese Angola, you want to be able to do well. Or you're going to Portuguese Mozambique, so you want to take somebody. But by and large, this agricultural opportunity is becoming a major force, like I said, in the African Development Bank. So he's pushing opportunities that people can have in this space.
In your experiences of Africa, where would you say you experienced your best times?
Ooh, I don't want to say that. Somebody's going to be mad at me. That's not nice. You should be nicer to an old lady. That's a mean question. I have enjoyed 9 African countries.
Give us 3.
I can't. You want to ask the top 3, but I've lived in 9 African countries. I've enjoyed each one of them. In each one of them, I've adopted 1 or 2 children who are still my kids. Now their kids are grandkids. So let me think. No, I'm not getting myself in trouble like that. I'm not. You're not going to push me into that trouble.
Okay, let's just go through the ones that the places.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. If I would say any place, it would be Israel, which is Northeast Africa. So that's really going to throw people a curveball. There's no such thing as the Middle East. So we need to stop being stupid about that. So I would go home to Northeast Africa. I would go home to Jerusalem. And so that would be my number 1. But as far as I've definitely enjoyed being here in South Africa. I can't lie. I love it. I'm treated, as a brand. So, I mean, that helps. I love I can't live anywhere without a housekeeper. So, I mean, I'm very happy. I'm never going anywhere where that's not happening. So, and all the things I find helpful to my existence works most of the time in South Africa. So of course we have load shedding and we've had the water cut off because a pipe broke or something. But by and large, South Africa works and functions. But so does Botswana, So does Malawi to some extent, Zambia. So that's a real thing about being in a country that works, that the things that you take for granted coming out of the UK or France or New York is really here. It's really here. So that's an upside of being in the country. But every place I've lived, and except for South Africa, I've always went to work for a head of state to advise them on how to do business in America or how to do business in Israel. And so I've always been in a certain housing and security and car. South Africa's the only place I haven't done that. So, and I've enjoyed both lives, the life that comes along with the territory of an advisor to a head of state, and the being on my own, and being down here. So it's they all hold something beautiful. I'm a sightseer. So every country I go to, I learn the country. I usually get very happy relations with the people who come to have to give me services, like a driver, a cook, a cleaner. I really get to know them. I spend a lot more time, even though in the countries I've been, there have been African American presence or presence from European Africans. I've always tended to have in my inner circle the local. I've always been with indigenous, and that has served me very, very, very well. It's kept me safe. It's kept me, when you're on the road, like especially I worked for Cameroon for 5 years, in and out. I worked for 3 countries, usually at the same time, but Cameroon, I liked it enough to actually live there. And, sometimes if you're going from Yaoundé to Douala, there can be some mess on the road. So it's wonderful to have my driver, who's my personal driver, the security that belongs to the president, and another person, all of which can manage me across that much land. Because as soon as when people hear American accent or they see you, they assume that you're carrying money. But I've always lived my life in Africa as an indigenous person. So I've never, moved into 20 million rand houses and stuff. I live in the communities that I live in, because it really makes a difference, and you create an environment that really can work, because then the people of the nation trust you, because you're not trying to be in their country but not in with them. Because that's what we do. We come and we create these ghettos, these multinational corporation high-paying ghettos, and we're away from the people, and we only get a housekeeper who comes every day to clean and go home. And so I've just learned to love all of them. So I love all of them. So if I have to say I have a best, it's Jerusalem.
Okay.
Do you speak any African languages yourself?
I don't, because I'm lazy. I'm so lazy. I'm surrounded by people, and I make them speak to each other in the language I pick up. I can hear it. I can hear, my ear can hear. But I'm lazy. I don't know why I'm so lazy about languages. Now, my youngest son, he picks up everything. He lived in Israel, went to school in Israel. So he speaks fluent Hebrew, and now he's speaking Zulu. Now he's getting ready to learn Xhosa. He speaks very interestingly. He speaks Afrikaans. So, I mean, yeah, my kids get it, my grandkids, everybody but me. So, I'm like, even my accent after 30 some years out of America, I still sound like a Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn.
You
like
really do.
It's like one of those Italian people who never learn English. They from Italy. They've been in America for 55 years. They still speak Italian. That's me. I tell you, I'm telling you. Now, I can't get rid of it. I don't know. And then I'm lazy to speak. I was in Israel 10 years. And so when I'm in Israel, I knew enough Hebrew to get myself from place to place. But as soon as I leave, it's gone. I read it because from my biblical scholarship. But to talk and converse, even my French, I've been having French since I was in the 6th grade. and I can read, I can hear you, and I understand. But when it comes to conversing, I'm just lazy. I'm lazy. So I do so many other things that I'm not lazy. I've convinced myself that I probably got to pass on this one.
I feel you probably do. Don't worry, you probably do.
A little pass. Plus, I got all these wonderful kids around me. So if I need somebody to tell me something, I bring one of them. I said, "What did this say?" What did they say?
Official translators.
I got an official translator. My granddaughter is my executive assistant, and she speaks all 11 South African languages plus Swahili. So anytime you've been working with her, Abia. So anytime I need anything I'll tell you a little personal thing. A couple years ago, this wonderful Zulu guy liked me so much, and I thought I liked him a little bit too. And he decided he is never going to speak to me in English. So he would text me. I'd have Abia standing right there. What did it say? Okay, text him back. For a long time, I think he thought I knew Zulu, so finally I had to let him stop because, God made me be honest. I said, brother, listen, if you need me to be a Zulu woman, I'm not going to be it because I cannot speak. Oh, your language was so perfect. I said, you were seeing my face, but you were dating my granddaughter.
However it was, yeah,
I'm telling you, there's something about the social media. You got to really be careful. But I couldn't carry it too long because I knew eventually he's going to show up from Durban in Johannesburg talking to me Zulu, and I'll be like, so before he came, I had to fess up and say, listen, these were my sentiments. They were my sentiments for real. But I had to get my granddaughter to give me the right words because either that or the Google. It was either going to be the Google translator or Abia. So I opted for Abia because at least that was a real person. Oh my goodness, I was just, and it was so, sometimes it's fun to have a little romantic kind of a little fun stuff. So I just kept having this little fun Zulu conversation. And then one time he called on the phone because as long as I was able to write on my phone, it was real cute. But oh my God, when it came to try to talk, and then my flat American tongue doesn't allow me to get the clicks of Kosa so man, I had to just fess up and say, brother, the best you're gonna get is Ebonics. I can give you some street Brooklyn Ebonics. So I must say yes. I've been historically astute. I'm culturally astute. But the language, I'm just lazy. Just too lazy.
Mama T, I wanted us to just go back onto the topic that we were speaking about, as in black families, in forms of advice of where the black family should be because of how they are. Especially, I always say that it's a lot of traumas, and we've gone through so many different types of traumas, and it's causing a separation within the household of what's going on. Because people are not able to understand, people are not able to be patient, people are not able to learn and listen, or even forms of observation or understanding of each other. How do you see the future for this? And what advice would you give people? Because we're trying to unify.
Well, everything you described is a symptom. And I started out by saying, I'm a very strange pastor. I'm not religious, but I do know that God changes hearts. And that's the only place I can start. I mean, we can have all kind of consultation and you guys need to get along, but unless we have a new heart, and the only harbinger of a new heart is Yeshua HaMashiach. So, people, let me explain why, because I don't want to sound like I'm trying to push a religion on anybody. This is for everybody to understand. The first misconception we have is that everybody's made in God's image and likeness. That is not true. Excuse me, because if this is the world we've created, then God is Satan. So we got to have some other consciousness about that. So what happened? Let's just deal with the cosmology we have. Now we can have any other story we want, but let's deal with the Hebrew scriptures we have. There's no such thing as the Old Testament. And God makes a guy, he takes this guy out of the dust of the earth and he makes him like him. That guy's called Adam. Adam makes some independent decisions, and those decisions cause his high God level to sink a little low to where he says he knows he's naked. I'm going to go with the cosmology story we have. So now he moves from this high level of being God in a body on the earth to a man with some God characteristics, but not at the level he started at. But this is all chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. By the time we get to chapter 5, it opens up saying Adam is made in the image of God. And he made him perfect and blah, blah, blah. And then a few verses down, it says, and Adam had a son, and that son was made in the image of Adam. That's the key. That's the important key. So the next progeny, all the people after that are made in the image of Adam. Now, what is Adam's image? When Adam was connected to God, he had a full God image. Now Adam has an independent streak. He still has God characteristics. He still can love and have compassion, etc. But now he's doing that independent of God. So he's decided that his spirit can be independent of God. Let's not deal with the flesh. We know it has to house something. We're okay with that. But it's the spirit of man that makes the difference in man, period, or woman. So now we fast forward 4,000 years or 5,000 years in the fullness of time, which is promised that God would send someone, himself actually, to reestablish the connection that was broken by Adam. So that's the whole good news story. All the other conversation, all the other books, all the other history, Paul's letters, all of those things are all by way of saying that there was a perfect man, there was a breach in the relationship. The relationship has gone on for 5,000 years, and in the fullness of time, the guy who started it is going to come and re-establish that relationship. That is the entire gospel story. Full stop. Full stop. All the things that we've learned, all the things that we've been mistaught, all the issues of Constantine, all the issues of Judaism, all of that is man doing. God's problem is simple. I made a perfect man. With the perfect man, I gave him choice. He has chosen to be, and that perfect man is perfect as long as he's connected to me at the hip. That man makes a decision to be disconnected from me, which I allowed. Remember, God allowed free will. I told him, don't eat this, don't talk to all these other people, but don't talk to that one guy. And women, you know about that. Your mama will tell you, don't talk to that guy because you get ready to have some issues. So the long and short of it is Adam's relationship with God that was like this is now like this. It's not like that, not yet, but it used to be like this. Now it's like this. So that's a problem. Because now this man is off on his own, thinking and doing. He's got enough God in him to manage for a while. But we see what happens is Cain kills Abel, first murder, bam. Jealousy, where did jealousy come from? Bam. So in the fullness of time, whatever thousands of years go by, God just says he's coming to reestablish, because over the years, This turns into this, turns into this, turns into this, turns into all the things we see: avarice, murder, hatred. Everything you see that is not good has come from the further we get away. So now God says, in the fullness of time, I'm going to come in a body and I'm going to do this again. And I'm going to tell you all the things that you need to know so that you can choose again by free will to have this relationship again. And you can stay like this. I'm going to love you, but you're not going to get the fullness of what you need to get. So we are asking, your question is asking broken people who are separated like this from the Creator, who now are living in terms of jealousy, envy, hubris, angst, unhappiness, lying, stealing, cheating, fornication, adultery, abortion. You want those people who have been abused or mistreated, or a woman raped by her grandfather, a man molested by his mother's best friend, people who are greedy, people who are selfish, people who have drug addiction, people who have addiction to food. You're asking those people who are in this state to fix what? They can't. So we keep going around and we have religious services and even people get exercise and everything, but they can't. The only hope for us is this again, without any religious who shot John and Jesus ain't it and now it's Muhammad, it's Buddha, it's Hare Krishna. There's a one God who decided, I made you, this is what I made you for, but I gave you free will, so you decided to do this. But I still want you. So when time comes, I'm gonna let you live like this so you can see the consequences of this. He could have fixed it that day. He could have fixed it all that day. But he said, oh no. And it's too big for my small brain to know, why didn't he fix it then? Because I ask him all the time, we're so unreliable. You know, you can rely on the trees and the birds. Everybody does their thing. You make us like you, and we're the only thing that doesn't do the thing. I don't even understand it. So he have to be God, because who else could put up with us but a God? The God. So he makes us perfect. He gets this relationship. He wants us close and tight, and we choose to do this. And instead of smiting us, instead of smoting us and wiping us all out forever, he waits because he's God. And he is time. He don't have to get all messed up with us. So he waits for us to come to the conclusion, as I did as an individual, as people do as individuals, that this separation is not working really. Doesn't matter how much money I have, how much stuff I have, how many people I have. There's a God pocket that's not filled. And you cannot fill it with drugs and money and sex and power. You can't. Look at the rich people. Look at the people who have everything. Look at your rappers, your big ministers, your big money people. Look at them. Do they give you any sense of peacefulness and joy and comfort? No. And the more you give them, the more they want, the more they figure out schemes and cheating. Really? How much money can you have? You know, I said to a group earlier, when they opened Tutankhamun's grave, he was dead. Dead. The stuff was there because you can't take it with you. So why do people have billions and billions of dollars and they know people are hungry? That's easy. Every problem can be solved, even in Africa. We got enough money in the hands of Africans to fix everything in Africa. We never have to ask the World Bank. We never have to ask the IMF. We have it. But we're in a wrong, we're this. This is God, and we're over here doing our thing because we think we're smarter than being like this. So God comes in the form of Yeshua and leaves us a path, gives us a constitution, and says, this is how you can do this again. And it'll be for your best interest. Now, I'm giving you all that background to tell you that until we recognize this necessity without any religion, no, you're not going to hell, and all that stuff people try to scare the hell out of us. And who wants to have that God anyway? You know, he's fickle. He's going to kill me if I don't do this. Well, okay, then I'm going to take my chances and not do this. I'm going to see. So it's the wrong thing to tell people who got a brain. But just think, I love you enough that I've waited for you to come back, because when you like this, then you get back my mind, my heart, my ability to forgive, to teach you how to forgive, to teach you how to understand, to teach you how to overlook faults, to teach you how to love your husband, to love your wife, to take care of your children. I'll teach you how to use better judgment on money. I'll teach you how to use better judgment on what you eat, because now you've allowed me to give you back my mind, because up to now you've had your mind and you're out of your mind, because look what you do. You drink, you smoke, you fornicate, you cheat, you lie, you hate each other, you murder. You look at the world that you have based on this model. And the world I had for you based on this model was a world of peace and love and joy and compassion, long suffering, kindness. We don't know that because we've never, as a massive group, done this. Now, when we did it in the early stages, when Yeshua left, it got abrogated by Constantine. So that's why I have no problem telling anybody, you can like me, love me, I don't care. The Christianity, all that church stuff was started by the devil. We started by Constantine. So why do you have 20,000 religions and everybody's, I mean, how does Ireland have a fight between the Protestant and the Catholic? They talk about the same Jesus, same Mary, same catechism, same communion, because the confusion was designed so that we would never do this. So we are married to our denomination. We're married to our pastor. We're married to the church here. We're married to the church there. But we skip this, because this is the sovereignty of God's ability to give us a godly mind that allows us to love and care and love unconditionally and care for people. And it only comes from God. The rest of us, our flesh, is too selfish. We want what we want. We want what we want when we want it. We don't understand. We don't get along. Why don't somebody like me? And da-da-da-da-da. I'm in charge. I want to be in the front. See, none of that comes with the spirit of divinity, because we always are thinking of others above ourselves. Not that we denigrate ourselves or we are a doormat. We agree to love. So when you ask me about how to build the family, if it's not God, man, woman, child, if it is not a godly man leading a godly woman and children, it's not going to be fixed, because in the marriage system now I want what I want and you want what you want, and we don't want the same thing, and I have a right to. But when you have a God mind, nobody has the right. Everybody has the cause of the family as the first idea, that everybody in the family is sacrificial. And to be sacrificial doesn't mean you're sacrificed as a lamb to slaughter, but that I don't have to win this one. I don't have to always win. I don't always have to be right. But we can't do it in the flesh, because the flesh itself is independent. It doesn't want to yield. I'm not yielding. You can't make me. I'm not yielding. But when the spirit, the greater one in us, when we get the spirit alive by doing this, then it's like, okay, we can talk it out. We can work it out. But when you do it without the spirit of God, you feel somebody took advantage of you and you're always giving in. And look at the list of things we say. So until we get back to something like that, some semblance of reconnection with the divine, whatever we want to call it, but a submission to the divine, we're not going to be able to submit one to another in the family. The kids, I told you, we have a worldly view. We can't spank the kids. We have a worldly view. We can't chastise them because their mind will be messed up. We have a worldly view. When women make more money than men, now I make more money than you, even to have that thought. We grew up with women making more money than black men when white men didn't give them a job and the black woman had to work in the white man's house and the white woman's house. They always made more money, but it was the family's money. And I remember growing up, my aunts and mom would squirrel a little money away out of their little change, but that was for the family. They were either going to buy something for Christmas, buy something for Thanksgiving. You know, very seldom did they talk about they going to just take that money and buy themselves some new clothes. That was not even in their mind. So everything, so women are now telling men that. So now how's the man going to be a man? Then we castrate men, and then when we need a man, we don't have one because we done beat him to death with our mouth. I got more of it. And you know we can out-talk you, so how is that going to work? So what has happened? It's not working. So divorce is rampant. Single head of household with women is rampant. Men are dropping their seed everywhere and allowing abortions to the tune of 25 million since January. That's your seed. That's the man's seed. That ain't my seed. That's your virginity. That's your legacy. Gone. Men don't pay child support. They don't care. They go from one woman to another family. Then women think it's okay to steal a woman's husband because she want to. All of that comes from this. All of that comes from mine, me, I, it's mine. But really, what is ours? Nothing's ours. We came in here with nothing. We're going to go out with nothing. It's the middle. It's the dash that has the value. So when you ask me about how to build the family, we got to go back and build the people's insides. We have to inspire people to put down their individuality, connect back with the divine, and then share that with another person. But it's a lie when stupid Jerry Maguire says, the girl says, you complete me. Any woman hear that, she needs to run, because it needs to be two wholes. Two halves in a relationship don't make a whole. It makes a mess. You need to come full. I need to come full. We need to become full of the consciousness of God. And then that connection makes us one flesh. That has a chance to work. But you complete me. Oh, no, because what if the part you complete I don't like? So if I come fully actualized in God's mind, and you come fully actualized in God's mind, we have a chance to build a godly, spiritual communion. Because remember, the connection with the family is a covenant. It's not a contract. Right now, we just got contracts, and they're made to be broken. Man wakes up one morning, I don't love you anymore because he's 50 and his wife's 50 and he done met somebody 25. So I don't love you anymore. That's a contract. Covenants aren't broken. Covenants are eternal. So we have decided some things that we can just get out, and I don't like you anymore, and I like her, and I like him, and the kids in the middle. So now everybody crazy. Everybody's crazy. So we got a long way to go back, because what I'm describing we used to be connected to the universal concept of divinity. We used to be connected to the idea of sacrifice. We used to be connected to the idea of family, that this has to stay together. The family has to stay together. But we don't have that anymore because everybody's independent. They can take care of themselves, and I can do bad by myself, and I don't need to do this, and I make more money, and da-da-da-da-da. And the man feels weak, so he got to go get a girlfriend, and then she gets pregnant, and you know the story. How to fix that? Oh, I mean, I'm a chef. If I made a cake that bad, it would go in the trash. I couldn't fix a cake that bad. But God loves us. So he keeps pushing. He keeps opening doors. He has a show like you. You ask me this kind of question. Maybe somebody hears it. Maybe they get it. He keeps trying. But this is a mess. We have gone down the rabbit hole so deep, and nobody wants to put down their ammunition. Nobody wants to relinquish their power. And of course, if you have two bulls fighting, the grass suffers. But
Sister, you said something earlier about spirit of Ubuntu. Explain to the people what that is and why you mentioned it earlier.
Ubuntu is an African concept that we've had for thousands and thousands of years. It means I am because you are. So it means that we are community, that what I have is yours and what you have is mine, and we share. So it's a full concept of sharing, of giving, but of firstly recognizing that my existence is realized, actualized because of your existence. Well, if that's the case, then it's pretty difficult for me to try to kill you or stab you or steal your stuff or break up your home or break up your community or break up the village, because whatever I do to you, it's one of the most amazing concepts of sowing and reaping. So whatever I do to you, I've done to myself. So if I don't like it, then I'm gonna get it. So I probably shouldn't do that. So it's a whole integrated, holistic ecology of people to people, a people to people ecology. So, the care I give to you is kind of the care I'm going to give to myself. The care I give to your children or my children is the same care. So it's a long, old, thousand year African modality for community building, for lifestyle building, for family building, for just relationships, so that we can have a relationship that's mutually beneficial. Now that's the place where we have win-win. So how I care for you, even how I care for myself, Yeshua says, love your neighbor as yourself. And we don't understand that it's not the part about the love your neighbor, it's as you love yourself. So I can't give you what I don't have. So if I don't love myself, which is the case in most relationships in the family, Terry, then I'm not going to love you. We've been playing around. So that's why I say to people, we fall in lust, we rise in love. We don't fall, because things that fall break. So people think they done fallen in love. No, they fell in lust. They have sex. The juices start mixing. They think they're in love. They don't know each other. And now it's worse, because at least when we grew up, we married the boy next door. We married the girl next door. We married the high school sweetheart. Now we're talking to people 10,000 miles away. We don't know people. We don't know their people. They don't know our people. And we're trying to think that can work. And we have very different understandings of man, of woman, of children, of families. And we try to mix that. At least, even if we had, fooled around in the stairwell and got pregnant, thinking we used to say we got pregnant by sitting on the toilet. That was a funny thing. Our parents thought that was really a hoot. But you got married. But you married the people you knew. So you didn't marry someone far away. So all of the kinds of things that we need to learn about each other, and we need to know about each other before we become one family. We knew that then, because we kind of, our radius was maybe 10 blocks to the high school. Now we have a radius that can be 5 or 6, 7,000 miles, different cultural understanding, different understandings of roles of women, roles of men, roles of kids, roles of elders. And so we have this whole thing that has to be negotiated. And of course, if you fall into lust and you think you're in love, you don't pay attention to those things. And then you wake up 5 years later, 2 years later, 10 years later, even sometimes 20 years later, next to a stranger. because, it happens like that. It just, we're in love and it gets so exciting. And then we want to get married and it gets so exciting. We definitely love the wedding, but we don't like the marriage. So then we just get into a rut and a routine. And then now we have kids. So now we got to stay together for the kids, and then they grow. And so that's been the case for maybe the last 4 decades, 40 years or more, where we're just kind of on autopilot. I meet somebody, I have sex with them, I think I'm in love. We do all the motions of, courting. And I'm not saying it's not authentic and it's not real, but when we find that it doesn't last, it's what I say every day. Things don't end badly. They started badly. So we started out of order, and it just, so now we're 10 years down the pike and we got kids, so we can't separate. And now we're 12 years down the pike, we got a mortgage, and and now we got a car payment, and now we got soccer practice, and now we got dental. And so life just, we're too busy. And then one day we stop. One day something arrests us. Maybe the kids go off to college and now we have an empty nest or something like that. Or the man meets somebody or the lady meets somebody, and now we stop and we examine this whirlwind we've been on that's 10 years old or 15 years old or 20 years old, even 30 years old. I've counseled people been married 40 years, and they talk to each other like strangers because they haven't spent the time to do the work. One thing led to another. Somebody got pregnant, maybe, then they had the baby, then they had to get an apartment, then they had another baby, and then he went to and now 40 years can go by in a flash. And you wake up one day and say, I don't know you. I don't like you. And now we got a problem, because now we got kids who have kids. We have mortgage, maybe the house is paid for, but now we've got a second more. All of that. So we've been on a treadmill. So now when you ask me about how do we build families from scratch, we have to start saying, what is this that we're trying to do? This thing was invented by God. Marriage was invented by God. Families was invented by God. So we need to stop and say, what did he have in mind? And oh my goodness, of course, the Bible is full of crazy families. I mean, when some of those are in there to tell us what not to do, because some of these families are just so messed up in the Bible, but I love them. That's why I know this book is so fabulous, because if it was all whitewashed, you'd be saying, oh, this is perfect. No, baby, there's some funky families in there who are really messed up. But it gives us instruction about what not to do, how not to be, and also how to be. How should we be when you get an Abigail, versus an Attila the Hun, So there's a difference. Or you get a Mary versus a Salome. So you got balance to see, okay, this is a better way and this is a not so good way. And that book is there for those kinds of instructions, not to scare us to death or make us horribly rigid, but to just share with us how this was designed in God's mind for the human capacity. Because, of course, we know that families build character, families build nations, families help us. But what family and how are we connecting with that family, and how did we start? Because I'm saying the start is very important, because when we get to the end is the inevitability of the start. So if we don't watch what we do in the beginning, we will end up with something we don't like in the end, and then we're all surprised. Oh, I thought they were so good. Oh, I thought we had something, but we never actually had it, because we were not vibing, we were not connecting, we were always like this, cross purposes. But it's so close, you don't recognize when in fact we're supposed to be like this. We're kind of like this, and sometimes we bump in and a finger connects, but that wasn't the design. So we have a lot of work to do, because we have to first talk about what is it we're doing? Because we're just by rote. But now we have to stop because it's just too much mess. It's too many broken families, too many messed up women, too many messed up men, too many children confused and wondering if it's them. Did they do it? Are they the cause of their parents breaking up? Kids suffer with that a lot. I advise, I counsel a lot of kids like that who are always thinking it's them. What did they do? Were they not good enough? Did they not get better grades? The things kids ask about why their parents, who are also big kids, are separating, and what did they do to cause that? And of course, they didn't do anything. It's the grown-ups, the grumps, who have just screwed everything up. And now we got offspring who are now confused. And it goes, and we keep doing it. It's generational. So my mama did it, now I do it. And then I put that kind of mess on my daughter, and she picks the same kind of man her daddy was, who was kind of worthless. And here we go again. And so now we have a whole world of broken people who don't understand what's going on. They're not getting any satisfaction anywhere. Not drinking, not smoking, not sexing, not spending money, not in the church. They go on Sunday or Saturday, whenever they go, they get a little excitement, they dance a little bit, they shout, they talk in tongues, and Monday morning back to the hellhole. Because it never gets solved, because it's an inner issue. It's not an outside issue. So doing activities is not enough. Now you can fix the inner stuff and then the activities make sense. But if you think the activities are going to somehow sweep into your heart, it's not. And we have enough record. I'm not spitballing here. It's on record that we have all these just unhappy, miserable, deeply sorrowful, deeply broken people. That was not God's intention for us to be just bumping around in a haze of sadness or anger, or confusion. I mean, take your pick.
But yeah, as we're coming close to an end, Richie, is there any last questions before we?
No. Before we close, I just want to thank the sister again for coming on, Mama T. Get me, much appreciated. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it's so important that there's people like you that are from the diaspora, but have obviously set up over there and are bridging the gap, because I think that's a continuous thing that we need, people to bridge the gap. And something you said earlier about the movements matching up from both sides of the water and them being aware of each other definitely is something that needs to continue. So, thank you again for coming on and speaking on that. And as I said, making people aware of what they really have to do on a realistic level to come over and repatriate on a proper constructive level. You know what I'm saying? And, despite some people saying they may believe in different things from you, I think the overall message of understanding our connection to spirit, super important. Because again, it is a part of our makeup. So I definitely appreciate what you said on that. Rixie?
Yeah, so Mama T, is there any last words you would like to say to the public?
No, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to share. I mean, we've been just chatting, which is what you said you wanted.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Black Ice TV. I hope whoever's listening, your wonderful listeners, will support these opportunities to talk. There are so many people out there. You ask me people, I know there are. I don't know them all, but there are people out there who have ideas and concepts and issues that need to come out, and we need to talk about it. And I'm just grateful that there's a platform to do that, Terry. I'm grateful that you care enough to take the time, and whatever cost it is, to bring conversations out, because this is what we need. We need to start talking again. We need to have the public square where we respect one another. We have respectfulness to agree or disagree. but it opens our mind to things that are important. So I'm very grateful. I'm very honored that you would think what I could say would be useful to any one person. And I look forward to just following you. I have to go on my phone because the way my TV set up, I don't see how to join and how to subscribe and how to send. So I am going to do that today. But thank you so much. Thank your producers. Thank your people who allow these things to take place, that we can keep having this wonderful conversation. I do want to drop into your ear possibly a conversation about what is the true definition of white supremacy. I think we've had the wrong definition. And I think Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, in her book ISIS Papers, which could be another conversation for you guys, has set a definition that I think is going to change everything. She wrote it in the 80s. We've kind of forgot it. You know, the book is probably collecting dust on so many people's shelves, but I had to go back to look at it after the George Floyd incident, because I've lived long enough to go through at least 7 major racism crisis. And I just needed to ask God, what is going on? Why don't we get this? But while we're pursuing justice, these guys are pursuing self-preservation. And I think it changes the matrix a little bit. So anyway, I commend that to you. But on a general scale, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been great. You kept me way past my bedtime. I'm almost falling asleep. But I have loved every minute of it, every minute of it. Thank you so much.
Okay. As you can hear, family, I hope you enjoyed a good time today. And you know, all about the 15th and the 16th once again. Mama T will be back on the Sunday, you know, so, and it's going to be a fantastic panel, because this panel is going to have a whole heap of our elders as well as in peoples of importance. Hold on, my thing just keeps on freezing. But I'm going to go to one of the videos to repeat this thing. So hold on. I don't know if it's is it showing?
Yeah, it's showing. It started.
Okay.
New Beginning proudly presents the ethos of Black Families First, a Black History Weekend annual celebration,
which is comprised of our kings, queens, scholars, speakers, and global families within the Black community to embrace the DLA Rites of Passage International Exchange Program for youths aged between 15 and 21 years old.
This is in honor of the late, great, resting power, Dr. Lila Afrika. The online fundraising event will be held on the 15th and the 16th of August this year. So please, give what you can to invest in our youth.
The 2-day event will also be broadcasted via Black Eyes TV 7 on Facebook as well as YouTube.
Black power starts with your melanin, uniting the Black family first.
With no feeling of control, as we wonder what it is, and we wonder what it was, and we wonder where we'll go.
I hope you enjoyed it, family. It was a good time speaking, good time listening. I hope you spend Black, believe in Black, enjoy Black, and enjoy everything that we've been giving you. Peace, love, and harmony.